What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down how you can run routes like Jeudy. We're going to be giving you guys some specific drills, some gym exercises to be able to make explosive cuts and break down similar to how Jeudy does it. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it can teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you are a wide receiver and would like to train with us this offseason, we are coming out to 13 more states across the U.S. for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camps. Next up on our camp tour, we'll be coming out to Phoenix, Arizona, then Charlotte, Dallas, the DMV, St. Louis, Honolulu, Boston, Cleveland, Austin, Seattle, Newark, Denver, and Los Angeles, California. So check out that very first link in the description below, fellas, if you want to get some work in with us and find out how you can sign up. Let's get started with this video. So it's like I said in the very beginning of this, we are going to be showing a couple routes here from Jeudy. That a lot of people think that, that Jeudy's just different. He just moves a certain way. And yes, he's a very, very explosive wide receiver. He makes a lot of cuts that do not make sense. And we're going to talk about that and talk about some stuff that you actually want to avoid that he does. But we're also going to give you some great exercises to build these abilities up so you can be a better wide receiver. So this first example here, there's a clip that kind of went viral a couple years ago. He's working like a slant out route, right? So a very explosive out route. He comes off the ball. He does this kind of like slide release to the outside here, gives a move. And then obviously like this snap down, the hip drop, being explosive at the top of the break is what Jeudy is known for. So on every single route, whether it's a double move route like a slant out, whether it's just a straight up comeback, whether it's a 5-yard hitch, you're always selling something, right? And what I mean by that is you're either going to be selling the fade or you're going to be selling the first part of the double move. So on a comeback all the way up to the break point, let's say the break point's at 15 yards. From 0 yards all the way up to 15, you were trying to make that DB think you were running a fade. Good pad level, good stride, but also you were running full speed. Now, the speed thing and the stride thing are the two most important things. Now, on a route like a slant out, what are you trying to sell? Trying to sell slant. But to sell the slant, you need to break off of this first move and actually run in full stride and full speed. Because that's the only way that we are going to get a DB to commit. If I'm running slow, if I'm taking choppy steps, I'm not going to get him to drive. Now, why do I bring all of that up? I bring all that up because that explosive hip drop that Jeudy has, that is the only way that you're able to decelerate while running full speed. Now, I'm not talking full speed out of control, your forms all over the place. I'm talking about a controlled full speed, like you're running a route. But to get in and out of your breaks while running that full speed, you need to be able to drop violently. Now, when you drop violently, we also have to make sure that I'm getting low because that is how I can put the brakes on and make a sharper cut. So if you have a violent, low hip drop, that is what's going to make you a more explosive route runner. Now, Jeudy obviously has a ton of explosion. When he makes this break, it is very, very fast twitch. He snaps down, and he's able to create a lot of explosion at the top of the route. So how is he able to do that? Is that something that he was just born with? Is that something that he walks out to the field with and can do? Is that something that any wide receiver can just walk out to the field and do? No, there are things that you have to do in the gym, on the field, that build on those skills. So there's a good quote here from Davante Adams, right? And this is an exercise from Antonio Brown that we're going to talk about in a second. But there's a great quote from Davante Adams where he's like, wide receivers will get better by just running routes. You know, they're just going to run. They need to run routes. They shouldn't be doing all these stupid drills, all these cone drills. And I agree with him to an extent, but also he cleared the clip up or cleared the quote up a couple weeks later saying, that's not what I meant. I meant you shouldn't be doing unrealistic drills and unrealistic workouts that aren't going to apply to a game. And that's what a lot of wide receivers do. Wide receivers are famous for just setting up the cone obstacle course drills and running through it and not even really actually emphasizing things that will translate. So this is a drill or an exercise here from Antonio Brown. Now, regardless of your opinion on Antonio Brown, one of the greatest route runners to ever play the position. That's just a fact, regardless of your opinions. I know a lot of people don't like him, and I maybe don't even like him that much either. But again, one of the greatest route runners ever. Now, look at this drill that he's doing. Ball is thrown to him. He's balancing on one leg on a half Bosu ball. So what is that working on? So that's working on one-legged stability and balance and obviously a little bit of strength. So all of those things that he is working on right now will translate to an actual route. Take out the fact that he's catching a football. Maybe he's just catching a tennis ball. Maybe he's catching a baseball, whatever you guys have to work with. But standing on one foot and balancing, That is the name of the wide receiver position when it comes to making explosive cuts. I'm trying to run a post route, I got to cut off of one leg. I'm trying to snap down, I got to have balance and stability on this single leg. So let's go back to that Jeudy example. To be able to run routes like this, you got to be able, because again, when he snaps down on this slant out, that first step is something called a trigger step. So many wide receivers are hesitant to snap down and have that violent hip drop because they're afraid they're going to hurt themselves, right? And that's the excuse that everybody uses. Oh, I'm going to tear my ACL. Oh, well, Jeudy just moves like that because he's different. Fellas, this stuff can be trained, 100% can be trained. So when he drops down, this requires a lot of ankle stability, knee stability, balance, a strength in the trigger step. All of those things can be worked on in the gym. Am I wrong? Every single one of those things that requires us to snap down, cut on a dime can be trained. And that's what you guys need to be emphasizing. So we look at that drill from Antonio Brown here, standing on one leg. That's what that works on. Strength, balance, ankle stability, knee stability. All those things will translate. Now, let's look at this other example here. So this is an example of Hollywood Brown working a drill in the gym. Now, I think wide receivers doing a lot of quickness, lateral quickness drills can help you with your releases, right? So he's got a band attached to a squat rack. You can't see the squat rack, but he is pretty much doing like a 3-step cut. He's going left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Now that works on the lateral quickness. When you take this band off, obviously off the line, when you try to set up a DB to the outside, you try to set him up with a move at the top of the route, you're going to naturally be a little bit quicker and a little bit faster. So let's go back to that very first example from Jeudy. Look at the release that he decides to choose. Where is he going? He is attacking to the outside, and it requires a lot of lateral quickness to try to move this DB off the platform. So he comes off the ball, moves to the outside. What does he do here? What's the last part of that movement? He throws a cut to the outside. That's a lot like that last drill that Hollywood Brown was doing. So again, like I said, fellas, it's not about doing the different cone drills. It's not about setting up a bunch of cone, obstacle course, ladder drills, all of those things. Let's work on realistic elements of running routes, and then let's go actually try to apply running routes. Now, again, there are drills that you can do that are great. I'm not saying that because I work a lot of drills with the receivers that I train. But everything that we do probably requires at the absolute max 6 cones. I don't need anything more than that because you don't need anything more than that. You don't need to set up 84 cones, have wide receivers running back and forth. You need to train them realistically and make sure that you are doing realistic things in the gym that is actually going to apply to a full route. So this is a great drill here from Hollywood Brown to showcase that lateral quickness, and that is something you guys can do to be a more explosive route runner. So now, Jeudy was one of the best college wide receivers after the catch. He had explosive cuts. He was able to cut on a dime with that ball in his hand. So how can you guys do that? How can you guys get more explosive cuts? And it kind of ties into the same thing. So let's watch this example here. Jeudy's running, and this is a cut that a lot of people would not be able to make. Now, I want to talk about just for one, his knee placement on this. So you see when he makes this cut and his knee caves inward. His knee is caved towards the grass. His ankle is kind of facing towards the grass. I personally don't ever want my wide receivers to get to that position because I feel like if you step just a little bit wrong and you maybe reach outside of your frame just a little bit too much and that knee really caves in, that can lead to knee damage and sometimes maybe even ankle damage. Like a serious injury I'm talking, because we maybe reached a little bit too far outside my frame. So that's the element to, I think, Jeudy's route running that a lot of people misconceive and that a lot of people, try to teach. I really think that, honestly, the way his body just moves in this respect is a little freaky. And I'm not saying that you guys should try to look like this with your cuts. I just think that's one of those elements where it's like, man, you can't really teach that. And that's something rare. That's something rare that you hear a lot from me, that you can't teach something like that. I'm not saying this is a good position to be in. That's just the way he is sometimes on cuts with his knees caved inward. And I don't think he's ever had a serious knee injury. Now, I'm sure people are a lot more educated in that topic than I am. I just know that that freaks me out. Anytime that my wide receivers have their knees cave in or their ankle cave in, it's usually because their foot steps too far outside their frame. That is something that we never want to do. So when he's making this type of cut, though, he's obviously still making this very explosive cut. So he's got a defender running at his top side. He's trying to cut and slip back underneath. So there's a lot of explosion to that cut, a lot of one-leg explosion. Just like on this example here, he's running a post route. He's running with a lot of speed. He's able to cut off of one foot. How is he able to do that? And again, it ties into the exercises that you are doing in the gym. So this is a wide receiver working a drill. He's doing just a simple A-skip into a one-legged box jump. So, fellas, when you guys train as a wide receiver, we shouldn't be training as a bodybuilder. You know, if you want to be a bet, like, because at the end of the day, like, wide receivers are typically known like, oh, he's the skinny guy, he needs to put on weight, needs to put on weight. But if you put on a ton of weight in the offseason and you're lifting like a bodybuilder, doing heavy bench, curls, heavy squats, and I'm not saying squats are bad, but you're neglecting explosive movements and game realistic movements, your on-field play is going to suffer because you're neglecting it. That's just the fact of the matter what it is. You might get bigger, but fact is you're going to slow down and you're not going to be as crisp of a route runner or have as crisp of cuts. So let's look at this example here from Antonio Brown. He's doing B skip, and he doesn't do a one-legged box jump. So that's single leg explosion right there. What does that remind you of? That explosion, that fast twitch that he needs to get up onto that box directly translates to a cut. Because when you're running a route, you're making a cut with the ball in your hands. You have to be able to put the brakes on a dime. You got to be able to have explosion with that cut if you're moving at a high speed. If you take a slow cut, you're probably not going to have a quick change of direction. So doing exercises like this, one-legged box jumps, maybe you set up cones like from side to side, like 4 cones, and maybe you jump to the other side, stick it, jump to the next cone, stick it, and then do that vice versa back and forth, just to work on that explosion off of one leg and that push off of one leg. Because when you're running this route, like there's 3 phases to a route, right? Let's look at this post route. You got selling fade, so that's phase 1. Got to make the DB think I'm going fade. So that requires me to run hard. Then you got phase 2, which is the explosion at the top of the break, which is the cut. Now, to get any kind of explosion at the top of the break, while you have some speed and you're selling a route, you got to be sudden with your feet. You got to have an explosive cut. Now, the third phase of the route is the acceleration phase. So now my goal should be, okay, I cut, I kind of decelerate, I created some energy. Now I got to widen the gap with the DB. And when I make that cut, I have to push off of that cut. I have to be explosive, but I got to push and drive out of there on the post to widen the distance from the DB. And if you master all 3 phases of the route, you are very, very tough to guard. Just like how Jeudy is very, very tough to guard. So let's look at this example here. What is he doing? When he gets to this single leg jump, he's pushing off of that cut. That works on that exact same third phase of the break. All of these things, fellas, that I've showed you today, the exercises, the routes, they can all be done. Do I need you guys to move like Jeudy? No. Do I want you guys to move like Jeudy? I don't need you to be honest with you. I'm not going to tell you that you need to have your knee caved in to get explosion. You need to be able to step that hard, but you can always get more explosive cuts. You can always get more explosive at the top of your break. You can always get faster. And those things can be repped and can be trained. I just showcase this to make sure as wide receivers, we are doing the correct things this offseason. We are doing the correct things in the gym and on the field to apply to that. If you don't know the reason why you're doing it, you probably shouldn't be doing it. And that's the biggest question that you need to ask yourself with the workouts and with the drills that you are doing this offseason. All right, fellas, really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. We always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, we are going to be coming out to 13 different states this offseason. We already did camps in San Francisco and Orlando, Florida, both completely sold out. Our Phoenix, Charlotte, and Dallas camps probably have about 5 spots remaining. So check out that very first link in the description below if you would like to sign up and get some work in with us. I'll see you guys next time.